All right. Welcome, everybody, to this afternoon's work session of Monday, May 8th, 2023. I'm going to ask everybody to please stand for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have a couple of items today on work session. The first is a presentation of the 2022 audit. So I'm going to invite Dresser Malecki as representatives. Luke, come on up.
Thanks, Supervisor. Good afternoon, Town Board. Supervisor, my name is Luke Malecki. I am a partner at Dresser Malecki, was charged with the wonderful task of overseeing your external audit. We have finished field work and are in the conclusion phases of the audit process. This past week, we met with the supervisor and the controller's office to have our exit conference, and have recently submitted with the, on behalf of the town, the state report to the New York State Controller's Office. This is a brief summary, summarizing the qualitative and some real brief high overview of some financial information of the year ended December 31st, 2022. We do anticipate wrapping up the final just X's and O's here over the next month or so. Probably anticipate releasing within 2 or 3 weeks. So I have with me Charles Trottier, who is a senior manager with our firm, and he's going to just walk us through some of the results of the audit.
So thank you. Hi, everyone. Products of our audit. The first slide here, more qualitative, but it really what you're going to expect from our audit, our services. So the first one being the financial statement, the most important document here. It's every year it's about 100 pages long, but in those 100 pages, there's really just a couple pages that belong to us under our letterhead, which is our opinions. 2 of them under the first bullet for financial statements, 1 under the second bullet for the single audit, and the other 90 plus pages are the property of the town. So although we help the town compile it, just want to differentiate between our role, which is we take the data that comes from the accounting software, we put it in our format in the financial statements, but the financial statements themselves are the town's. So in those 2 opinions, the first one is at the front. It's on the financial statement themselves that they can be relied on. And after performing our test, once again, we provide an unmodified, clean opinion that these financial statements are free of material misstatement and they can be relied upon by third-party users. The programs we tested were the ARPA program, again. We tested community development block grants, and we tested the Housing Choice Voucher Section 8 program. We ran our series of tests. We tested expenditures with samples of 25 plus, and there were no compliance requirements, or there were no compliance findings to report on the single audit side of things. So 3 opinion, 3 clean opinion, what you're looking for. Auditor communications, we'll formalize that in a letter to your group, but essentially if there were to be something that came up in the audit that would merit the attention of your group overseeing the audit, we'd be required to communicate on it. Nothing crazy to report on. Everything's going to be consistent from one year to last. What you saw last year is going to be what you're going to see again this year. So the form and content of the financial statements are going to be the same. One of the required communication there is that we are independent to be able to provide that stamp of approval that these financials can be relied on. So myself, Luke, and other team members were all independent, and we received a full scope on all our requests. So if we requested a certain sample, we weren't told, hey, no, pick something else instead. Everything was given to us. So clean audit there again. And then there was one new standard that was required to be implemented. I'll just touch on it. It has to do with leases. So this year, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board issued a statement that says, hey, you have to bring in your leases on your books. So right now, this year, that's the only new thing that the town is reporting: a lease receivable and a liability in the form of an inflow to offset part of that receivable. So that's really the only new thing that happened, not material to the financial statements. Management letter, just want to mention that there's significant improvements that were done from 2020 to 2021, and again from 2021 to 2022. So Luke mentioned that we got a chance to speak with the Comptroller's office, Supervisor's office. last week to go over those, and it's a practice that we've liked to do over the last couple of years, because every time we take the time to go over the detail of everything that we encompass during the audit, steps are taken the following year to remedy those, and we anticipate what's left to be housekeeping items to be addressed again next year. And you'll also get departmental reports that covers the town clerk, tax receiver, and the justice. That's on the cash basis of accounting. And we did not encompass any deficiencies or issues to report on for those reports as well. So clean audit throughout.
Thanks, Charles. So for all intents and purposes, very clean, smooth audit process. Very happy to be working with your group. I know your controller's office and finance departments keep you abreast to the financial situation, but from a third-party perspective, I just wanted to share some of the results that we see from the audit. What we like to look at with your town board and with your group here is the operating fund. So what does that include? It includes all the activity related to the special districts, and the main operating fund being your general fund, your part-town fund, and your highway fund. It excludes the special grant fund, which is everything run through the CDBG and the home and Belmont Shelter group, as well as the capital projects fund, because those are very come and go based on the projects that the town are undertaking. So when you look at the operating funds, which really are the funds that drive the tax levies year to year, the town saw a steady increase of about $4.3 million year over year. Ending fund balance in all the operating funds, as you see here, is $63.3 million. Main reason for those increases include a $2.6 million increase in the general fund, largely fueled by an increase in sales tax, as well as a ramped up year in departmental income. 2022 was the first full year back from COVID, so you saw some increased revenues related to those programs that were reinstated. Additionally, the highway fund and the sewer fund kind of offset each other. One went up, the highway fund about $450,000, and the sewer fund went down by about $450,000. Both funds sit at about $5 million fund balance there. The general fund, I did breeze over that. It is at $26.8 million. We're going to have a couple more slides dedicated to the general fund. Additionally, I mentioned the part-town fund. The part-town fund had a really strong year as well, increasing by about $1 million, and that was fueled largely from increase in building permits as you guys broke free of that pandemic. So within that $63.3 million, approximately half of it is restricted, meaning it's comprised of non-spendable fund balance, which would be items for prepaid items or legally restrictions for debt and other sort of restrictions. That's $31.9 million. The remaining $31.5 is what we as governmental accountants refer to as assigned or unassigned fund balance. A portion of that amount is set aside for next year's budget, either through the budget process for the 2023 budget or in an encumbrance. The remaining amount shakes out to be $20.3 million. So this is the amount of money that's available as kind of your savings account. As you can see, the town's goal has been to keep that somewhat steady over the years, and after a year of a pretty substantial increase in 20 to 21 related to the uncertainties, really an outcome of the uncertainties and kind of the tightening the belt during those years, this year it actually decreased by about $2 million, and that was an intentional practice by the use of increasing the general fund's appropriated fund balance. So for the 2022 budget, the town board elected to appropriate $3.3 million. For the 2023 budget now, that's up to $6.6 million. So although fund balance on a whole did increase, the amount that's available in the savings account decreased slightly because of that increased appropriation in the budget that we're living in right now. From an operational standpoint, expenses year over year from 21 to 22 are difficult to compare because you had two one-time items. One on the revenue side, in particular, was the use of ARPA aid under the umbrella of revenue loss for public safety. That was about $5.5 million of kind of one-time revenue in 2021. So if we isolate that and look at just the recurring revenues, what you saw is your revenues actually increased by about $3.8 million. Those, again, were fueled mostly by an increase in sales tax that we're experiencing kind of statewide here, as well as an increase in departmental income and those building permits that I talked about earlier. On the expense side of things, very similar to those regular recurring operating expenses, Our operating revenues were revenues increased by about 3.8 million, expenses increased by about 3.4 million. And the driving forces behind that, regular salary increase that are included within the union contracts, as well as your normal step increases, as well as the use of some additional ARPA funds in the 2022 year for some ongoing capital projects, specifically within the public safety line of related to Campbell Boulevard. The additional utilities kind of started to ramp up in this past year. That impacted two of your funds, your sewer fund and your highway fund in particular. Those are very utility and gas-driven funds. So as those prices increase, the use of the expenses related to those funds will increase as well. So all told, revenues at the end of the year were $146.8 million for your operating funds, and your expenditures were $141.8 million. Looking specifically at the general fund balance, as I said, this fund balance totaled to be $26.8 million, an increase of $2.6 million. You can see the bottom portion there, that light blue, that's the unassigned portion. That's the amount that's available for quote unquote the slush fund, the savings account, the emergency rainy day, whatever you want to refer to it. But it's the amount that's available in the event of a pandemic or another natural disaster that you can tap into to help float the costs of those occurrences. That's at about $10 million. You see there was a slight increase last year, a pretty strong increase last year, going about $6.5 million. That has now decreased by about $4 million. Again, largely a result of the expansion of that red portion, which is at $8.6 million, and that is where the amount that's have been set aside for the 23 budget. So another way to look at it is that 21's fund balance increased, 23's fund balance actually increased the use of that fund balance to give it back to the taxpayers in the form of a reduction in the real property taxes. The remaining portion, as I said earlier, was either related to prepaid expenses or for restricted fund balance use. The last slide just shows kind of as a percentage of what the annual budget, the available fund balance is. There's a lot of different rules of thumb of what people look for to have on this. Typically, what we hear is most government officials can agree that the goal is to keep it somewhere close to 16 or 17%, just because that's about 2 months of expenditures, get you through January and February until the cash collections start coming in. That's just kind of a rule of thumb. It really boils down to your fund balance policies. But as you can see, you're at 12.4, and again, that was a pretty intentional, structured reduction of that unassigned fund balance. So that's the formal presentation. I have my information and Charles's information up here. We're certainly available for any questions right now, but if not, we do work for the town board year-round, so if you have any questions during any part of the year, just feel free to reach out to us. Yes?
If I may ask one, I know you touched on it, but it's important to me, so I'll ask specifically. You received all the cooperation you needed from the town's employees? Everything went well?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
It's a big job. It takes several hundred hours to get this one through, so it takes the coordination of all these groups. We're going out to the ICE facility, the youth center, the senior center, home and community services over in Belmont, the town clerk, basically every corner of town hall, and we got full cooperation without question.
Any further questions?
Thank you.
Guys. I appreciate it, and thank you to our comptroller's office and our finance department. They obviously have plenty on their plate, and the audit is just one more of those items. And now that we're through that, it's in the budget season, so you guys can never rest. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys very much. Next item on our agenda is a presentation on the LWRP, Local Waterfront Revitalization Plan and Consistency Law. Here to present Dan Howard and Jeff Sikowski. Well, before Dan gets started, this project's been going on for a while, dates to pre-COVID days. I think it's hard to understand exactly how long one of these takes to get done. But you know, it's really a contract between the community and the state. New York State controls waterfront unless you have an LWRP in place. So it's important to take its time and With that said, Dan, thanks for your department's efforts to lead this effort.
Yeah, thank you. We, we appreciate the opportunity and to add another, another aspect of planning in the community to our collection of other plans. I'm going to be very brief, and I'll let Jeff Sikowski speak to the details of the presentation. He's been involved in this from the get-go, along with Ellen Cost. It's been a long road, and the work with the state is yes, work with the state is what it is. It's just a cumbersome process. They're very thorough, and so we've come to a point now where we hope we've got a plan to provide to you for consideration. As Brian mentioned, that comes along with a consistency law. Later on in your agenda today, you'll see an item asks you to set a public hearing date for that consistency law on the 22nd. And so with that, I'm going to ask Jeff to go through a presentation, give you an idea of what we got here.
Yeah, so the answer to your question, the first time the town did this was in 1999, and we had a final version in 2007. So it took almost 6 or 7 years to go from getting grant funding to start the process to get to a final plan. We had issues with seeker. We had a joint LWRP with Pendleton, and it didn't work out. So Brian, once again, Brian Kalpa, we applied for grant funding in 2018. We've now since closed out that grant, and now we have the plan in place. We've gone through the 60-day review, and now we're up to just adopting. We have 2 town board resolutions. One is to adopt the plan, and one is to adopt this local consistency review law. So as you can see from this graphic, you see the importance of the waterways within the town. You can see how connected the town is with the other waterways, and that it traverses across both the north to south and then east to west throughout almost the entire town. 2/3 of the watershed is Ellicott Creek, 1/3 is Tonawanda Creek within the actual square miles of the town. The actual boundary itself is 8.1 square miles. The benefits of the LWRP mainly are for waterfront revitalization, environmental, and economic. We can now apply for grant funding that we didn't have before. These policies and goals support the existing comprehensive plan. We're going to make some tweaks to the comprehensive plan because they allude to the 2007 joint LWRP, but the same waterfront goals that you see in our current comprehensive plan reflect our waterfront goals in the LWRP. We just took it a step further and went through their process with the policies and with these proposed projects. Within the actual plan itself, there's 7 sections in the plan, and then Appendix A is this local consistency review law. The first section is we drew up the boundary with the Waterfront Advisory Committee. They've been helping out throughout the entire process. We did an inventory analysis of the sites. We did 5 site visits in fall of 2018 with the committee and with other stakeholders involved. Section 3 is the list of LWRP policies that the New York State dictates. Section 4 is the one that everybody likes. It's the proposed projects. Section 5 is the local laws that we have that already are consistent or are needed to implement the LWRP. So local laws that we'd see in the consistency review law in Appendix A, we need those to be reflective in Section 5. We do not need to have any local laws enacted because we are in really good standing. Other communities are smaller and they don't have the same type of safeguards and or process that we have here. And then the Section 6 and 7 are just more of the boilerplate templates from the Department of State that's needed. This is the actual boundary itself. Once again, 8.19 square miles. The Tonawanda Creek sub-area is purple, and the light pink is the Ellicott Creek sub-area. You can see University of Buffalo and the village are in gray. The village has theirs, and it's adopted, and it's not the entire town, but now the LWRP is going to be connected into Tonawanda and then down through the village of Williamsville. So it'll be all one continuous piece of a boundary that the state refers to as the waterfront revitalization area. This is the committee and the list of the site visits and the public meetings we've had on this. So we were actually on site at most of the areas that you wouldn't normally see. You have to get out of your car and walk to some of them. These are some of the underutilized sites. We have some buildings on Old Niagara Falls Boulevard, the former Westwood Country Club House, Oakwood Golf Course. You have unimproved trails that need ADA compliance, and then other areas where we could access the creek that don't previously exist. The whole point of this is to try to increase access to the water. These are the policies. Most of these are the boilerplate template from the New York State DOS. However, we added to it because we have an agricultural plan and we're in Erie County District 17. So that's specific in that. And then we also identified with the group scenic views within the actual boundary. And those views were those red dots that you saw on the previous slide. Those, if someone fills out a form, we'll just review to make sure that a proposed action does not impede those. These are the waterfront planning projects. You've probably seen these from other planning projects. We have from the graphics from Dover Coal and other larger planning areas that overlap with the LWRP. These are the project site areas. They're the green dots, and you can see they're sort of evenly spaced throughout the town. One of the areas, we only have one dot because it's the Amherst Central Park project that takes up a considerable amount of acreage. You'll notice that these areas follow the existing land use of recreation and open space. More or less, we are enhancing the existing recreation and open space along and adjacent to the waterways. Each one of the sites will be to revitalize, improve, and enhance existing space. We don't have any private projects in there because we were told that we can't have the private or marina off Campbell Boulevard, Tonawanda Creek as a project. So we had, in lieu of that, we have another project next to it at North Amherst Fire, which the town received $603,000 grant funding to start that project. With that, I'll leave you with any questions. I just want to quickly just go over the timeline. We reviewed, or we sent out the GML 239 so that the adjacent communities can provide their comments, and that 30 days will be up. So right now, we're asking to have public meeting or public hearing set today at this town board meeting for the May 22nd to go over the consistency review law, and then we'd like to have both the plan after the 30 days of the 239s up. We'd like to have on June 5th that town board meeting to, one, adopt the plan as it is, and then one, adopt the local consistency review law. So it's two separate actions, although that consistency review is in the Appendix A of the plan. With that, any questions, please?
All right, so I just want to first say thank you again. If anybody has ever seen in my office, there's this one piece of state legislation that's on my wall, and it was the signed legislation designating Ellicott Creek as a named inland waterway. That took an effort with Senator Rasenhofer, then Assemblyman Walter, Assemblyman Schimminger, to move that across. Ellicott Creek previously hadn't been considered a named inland waterway, which restricted the ability to actually put together an LWRP on that creek. And along that creek, obviously, it's a major portion of everything that we have had here in Amherst. This LWRP, to me, represents an opportunity to ensure creek access. I think that's a fair thing to say. Blueway access, but also to ensure, for the most part, that access happens with green buffer and naturalization as much as possible along Creekway. And so, Jeff, you really have done a great job leading this project. I know it's a complicated one with a lot of moving parts, but I think it takes a landscape architect to sometimes be able to see a project like this. It's not just the small components, but also the broader brush. And so thank you for that. Are there any questions from the board?
I just had
Sure.
just a question, and I mean, it's covered in the proposed local law, but just for the benefit of everybody, could you just make a distinction, and you have it defined, between actions and minor actions?
Yes, let me go to the flow chart. So now the planning department will be going through two concurrent reviews. So first is seeker, and then there's the LWRP review. A lot of what you see on the EAF form will apply, environmental assessment form through seeker. Some of that information will be repeated onto the waterfront assessment form. So if you have a proposed action that's on the waterfront, like on the actual water, then more likely you will have to fill this out. I should have said this before, all single-family residences residences are exempt. So most homeowners will not have to deal with this. But if you do have an action that's not a minor action, you will have to fill out this form. So we try to tailor it so that the minor actions follow the type 2 seeker minor actions, but they do not jive. So the Department of State has their process, and then there's the seeker process, and then there's also the town's process. So the planning department is going to have to sift through to determine what a minor action is or is not. For the most part, if you're redoing a driveway or refurbishing a parking lot or something small like that, that'll be a minor action. There will be special occurrences that may take place where it doesn't really fall within this minor action category, but we'd have to take that under consideration as we review projects. And it'd have to follow what the town planning department has in Part 8, and we've discussed that and how the procedures would be. I don't know if that helped answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So bigger changes would be the actions, more minor changes would be minor
Yeah, so
actions
for
in
example,
general.
I went on the New York State DEC EAF mapper, and I just picked a project site in Tonawanda because they have an LWRP.
Yeah.
And then it automatically fills out the form for you, and it'll check the box that you're in an LWRP and that you may have to go through a certain type of process. Not in every case, so if it's a minor action or if it's a type 2 and it's a short EAF form, that box might not check up. So we'd have to just do it on our part to make sure that the people fill out the right forms when they apply.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment.
Okay.
I wanted to thank you, Jeff, having been an active participant in the process, serving on the committee, and attending the tours where we traipse through who knows what. But I really discovered a lot of opportunities that I had no idea we had when we went down, I don't know, down by the creeks and did different things and walked in places I never would have gone for a walk. So I'm really looking forward to us starting to implement these projects over the next few years. And I know it's a long, slow process, and I just wanted to say thank you to Jeff.
Councilman, I think you.
Jeff.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dan, that's fine.
Well, I didn't know if he was done. I just wanted folks to take note of this map because it delimits areas in the town where projects may fall under LWRP review. And much like we have with blue rated properties for historic preservation, zoning, things like that, it's our intent to have this information available on the website so residents can consult this freely and hopefully conveniently to understand whether their property falls within one of these special areas. So but the plan itself is on the website. It's fairly large. It's there for folks to have a look at. It's 400 or 500 pages. So encourage folks to take a look at it. And again, with respect to this, we'll make sure this information gets out there. So sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, can you go to the slide with Old Falls Boulevard?
Yep. The old one?
Okay, yep, right there, top, middle, private business. So in 2018, that's right along the water. I used to go for runs along that area, and they were revamping that, what I think was a pizzeria coming or a water kind of restaurant, something like that. And it dried up right as COVID kind of dried up everything. So my question becomes, with this new LWRP that we're voting on, how would something like that, how does their business, somebody else buys it? Do we incentivize that? What steps now occur because of this?
Yeah, so originally, we tried to get that private marina as a project just because that's the only one with a 60-foot lift in the area, and it's one of the main stopovers. But they said that we cannot have it. So in this particular case, they're in our boundary. We could apply for grant funding on the road and along the trail and along the water if we wanted to coincide with them. But we would partner with them to apply for like the ESD type funding or another funding source. And that's where all these agencies kind of work together to help out, to to help the business owner out to actually try to revitalize that building. With the LWRP in process, it's like you take that first initial step, and then it shows that the town has this goal of trying to revamp the waterfront.
So just so I understand, so prior to this vote that's occurring tonight, in 2018, he would have kind of been on an island, having to work with state bureaucracy to kind of get that. But with the town, we would help work for grants or resources for that individual?
No. We cannot apply for any grant
can't.
funding. The town cannot apply for grant funding on private property.
Yeah, I mean, it's a control mechanism as much as anything. You know, it's one of the things that's interesting, right? Is I always hear, well, how do we know if they buy Westwood that they're not going to develop it, or they're going to do X, Y, or Z with it, or that'll remain a park and all of that stuff? And like this contract, this is a legal document between us and the state of New York where we agree that, look, here's the aspirations of the town. And the New York State says, yep, we're granting that as consistent with what the state's goals would be for that water. And now as a metric of wanting to create a park or, take Westwood from an abandoned country club and really turn it into a central park, everything we do has to be consistent with this LWRP. But it doesn't stop there. If we want to do something with a trail or a connection along the water, we are basically saying the town is now subject to our own contract with the state. And so I think what it does is it ensures business owners nearby that actions of the town and actions of the state will be consistent with what they see on paper. And they don't have to guess, is this trail going to do this or that? In another conversation we're having, we're talking about parks in our own zoning. We're talking, there's a considerable level of constraint that a community has to offer to the state. I think that's fair. When you apply for or move forward with an LWRP process like this, on the back end, some of the reward for practicing that constraint and living by your plan and your document can result in grant funds. As Jeff mentioned, we're already the beneficiary of one of those, which will see a new playground and new water access up at Fireman's Park. Moving forward, we hope obviously that we'll be able to tap into some grant funds. But again, this basically ensures the community the direction that the town is headed.
Yeah, and in section 4, we identify who the partners are, some possible funding sources, and just like what agencies we'd have to review this whole process with. It doesn't show exactly what we have to do, but it says like this is like the plan. This is the framework.
Okay, any further questions? Excellent work. Thank you. And we'll be looking forward to all of the ensuing actions here as the town moves us forward. And thank you very much. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the town board meeting agenda items. After that, we will have an executive session, though I think it's actually going to be brief. I know it doesn't look like it will be, but we'll start off. And I'm going to recognize this today. Now at work session, I'll mention it obviously again this evening. But tonight, with the board meeting and in memory, we are honoring the memory of a couple of fallen highway workers. And Pat, I've said it in front of department heads. I think it bears saying at work session that obviously the town board holds your department in esteem, and we hope that your department's able to cope with these losses. And I know it's been difficult, but thank you for your leadership. And Bob McCarthy, thank you for your leadership. This is not easy on anybody. As an HR person, I'm sure this hits a little bit extra close. So to both of you gentlemen, thank you for leading through a difficult moment, to say the least. We have public hearings tonight on Village Point Lane parking restrictions, then on the local law amending Chapter 203 to exclude certain public uses. That one will be held open. And then on 387, the town parking lot maintenance WPCF bond resolution. Do we know who's presenting that? You are, Brian. Okay, thank you. And then moving forward, we've got a few items that I think could represent a consent agenda. The first of those is 388. It's a license agreement with Village Preservation Foundation, CRS 4023. This is for the Williamsville Farmers Market. Any reason to withhold that from consent? Oh, sorry, we have an amendment on the dates. Okay.
Oh, it's up to you.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
I don't know that you actually need an amendment because the contract is for the proper dates and the resolution just says for the calendar for the 2023 season. So the resolution as it's written is okay, and the contract is specific with the right dates for the village.
Okay, then.
All right.
Okay.
That said, any reason not to place it on consent? Okay. Resolution 389 is amendments to 2023 and 2028 capital improvement plan. We have addition because we were able to secure a grant, so we're moving, and because we have persistent leaks in our refrigerant system on one of our ice pads, so we'll move forward with an ice project. As a result, we have a couple of changes of stuff that will move off. Any questions regarding that resolution? Okay. Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 390 are meetings with developers in the city of Sarasota, Amherst IDA, and the town of Amherst. Those were 2 weeks ago. I'll be briefing a couple of those meetings in executive session, and the city mayor and city departments had a lot to offer in terms of some pretty interesting ideas that they've had, including trolley service, which really connects a lot of their community and their parks. So with that, is there any reason to withhold that from consent? Okay. Resolution 391 is a traffic and safety board appointment. Sorry, Councilman, I just ran with that.
That's fine, continue.
Any questions about the appointment? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Okay, 392 is going to require a seeker vote, then a voice vote. Same with 393, 394, 395, and then 396 I just have as voice. 397 I just have as voice. 398 I believe. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It does. Okay. There is there. Sorry, I missed it. Okay. So we'll have seeker, then a voice vote.
Which one?
396 and 397 both have
Okay.
Oh,
Question? Never mind. We'll just accept that it's there. Okay. 398 is with that one. Is a public hearing that does not require any reason not to set that public hearing via consent. Okay, 399, the 2023 sanitary sewer assessments bond resolution. Again, setting a public hearing. Any reason not to do that via consent? Resolution 400, again, setting a public hearing. Any reason not to do that via consent? Resolution 401 is an amendment to the second amended license agreement for Buffalo Niagara Heritage Village, CRS 4031, CMS 1509. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason not to, or any reason to withhold that from consent? Resolution 402 is a license agreement at 187 Box Elder Lane. Any questions regarding the license agreement? Any reason to withhold that from consent? Resolution 403 is Progressive ASO Foskalos et al. Settlement of claim. Recommend we receive, any reason not to grant that via consent. Resolution 404 is the USDA Property Access Request, CRS 4010. Any questions regarding that access request? Any reason not to grant that via consent? Resolution 405 is authorization to commence surplus monies action for 96 Jasper. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason not to grant that authorization via consent? Resolution 406 is an amusement license for Papi Grandes. Any questions regarding the license? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 407 is the new firefighters for Gettsville Fire Company. Any questions about the appointments? Any reason to withhold them from consent? Resolution 408 is an extension of GAR's contract 3930. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 409 is extending the contract for Eminger, Newton, Pigeon, and Magyar, CRS 3934. Any questions regarding the extension? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 410 is the 2023 Capital Improvement Program Amendment, Upper Ellicott Creek and Channel Improvements, Project F-1. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 411 are budget transfers and amendments. Any questions about those transfers and amendments? Any reason to withhold them from consent? Resolution 412 is a travel policy update. Any questions regarding the travel policy? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 413 is an extend bid 2021-019 for vehicle service and parts, CRS 3972 and 3995. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 414 is an award of bid 2023010, pump parts and repair, CRS 3975. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 415 is an award of mini bid 13002 for two Chevrolet pickup trucks, Highway Department, CRS 3999. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 416 is an award of bid 2023013, townwide sprinkler inspection and service, CRS 4007. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 417 is an award of bid 2023008, sports field materials, CRS 4013, 4014, 4015, 4016. Any questions regarding that resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 418 is an award of bid 2023015, cable work at Northwest Amherst Community Center, CRS 4024. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 419, the piggyback of the contract for townwide uniform rental, CRS 4025. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 420 is an award of bid 2023011, townwide collision repair, CRS 4037, 4038, 4039. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 421 is to approve a piggyback for contract for AG groundskeeping, type power equipment, Finch Services, CRS 4011. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 422 is the 2023-2028 Capital Improvement Program Amendment, CIP number P0-6. Where's that PO-6? Sorry. Bailey Avenue Police Center improvements. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 423 is the proposal of design services for Casey Road pedestrian and bicycle improvements Phase 2, Paradise Park to Transit Road, Mott McDonald Incorporated, New York Incorporated, job number 2014.048A, PIN 5764.66, CRS ID number 4033. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 424 is Lou Gehrig Baseball Field Improvements, change order number 2 with Northeast Diversification Incorporated, CRS 4034. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 425 is an awarded bid for the 2023 asphalt milling, paving, and repair contract with JD Seal Tech Corporation. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 426 is an awarded bid of the rebid of the Mathewson McCarthy Little League Fieldhouse Improvements MLP Plumbing and Mechanical Incorporated Plumbing Contract. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 427 is an awarded bid. It's the rebid of the Mathewson McCarthy Little League Fieldhouse Improvements Parisi Mechanical Incorporated Mechanical Contract. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 428 is the awarded bid for the rebid of the Mathewson McCarthy Little League Fieldhouse Improvements Industrial Power and Lighting Corporation Electrical Contract. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 429 is an awarded bid for the rebid of the Mathewson McCarthy Little League Fieldhouse Improvements Walter S. Johnson Building Company Incorporated for general contract. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 430 is a 2023 highway school request. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 431, auction of highway department surplus equipment, spring 2023. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 432 is an authorization to purchase 3 2024 Ford F-250 XL CRS 4036. Any questions regarding that resolution? Any reason to withhold them from consent? Resolution 433 is an agreement with Alterity Group, LLC, CRS 4974. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 434 is a public dispatcher, part-time police department. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 435 is a code enforcement officer for building department. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 436 is an architect in the engineering department. Any questions regarding the appointment? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 437 is a planning drafts worker for building maintenance and facilities department. Any questions regarding that resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? 438 is an assistant planner for the planning department. Any questions regarding the appointment? Any reason to withhold it from consent? 439 is a principal planner, planning department. Any questions regarding the appointment? Any reason to withhold it from consent? 440 is an assisted planning director for the planning department. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? 441 is a principal planner for the planning department. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? 442 is the 2023 and 2028 Capital Improvement Program Amendment, CIP number P1, Comprehensive Planning. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 443 is a request to schedule a public hearing of the proposed local law for the town of Amherst Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, or LWRP. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 444 is a request to travel to Cleveland, Ohio for the affordable housing model home tour. Any questions regarding that resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 445 is the Amherst Central School District CRS 3970 Student Resource Officer Program. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 446 is the Sweet Home Central School District CRS 3971 Student Resource Officer Program. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 447 is a memorandum of understanding for the use of the Amherst Police Department Community Policing and Training Facility with the Vista Security Group Incorporated, CRS 4009. Any question regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 448 is a memorandum of understanding for the use of the Amherst Police Department Community Policing and Training Facility for the United States Naval Sea Cadet Corporation. CRS. I saw Corp. Sorry. CRS 4006. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 449 is a memorandum of understanding for the use of the APD Firearms Range Homeland Security Investigations Buffalo. CRS 4017. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 450 is psychological testing for police officers, CRS 4032, the University Psychiatric Practice Incorporated. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 451 is permission to spend T account funds in the senior services. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 452 is a piggyback with the Erie County contract for United Survey Cured in Place Pipelining Services, CRS number 4008. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 453 is a payment authorization and budget transfer request for Monroe Tractor Implement Company Incorporated. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 454 is payment authorization for Cambria Asphalt Products. Any questions regarding the resolution? Bless you. Any reason to withhold that from consent? Resolution 455 is the JDV Sludge Conveyor Replacement Parts Procurement, JDV Equipment Corporation, CRS number 3935. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 456 is a revision of a one-year maintenance and support renewal, CRS 3815. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 457 is a WJFL facility construction, Town of Amherst job number 2021.035A, Northeast Diversification Incorporated, change order number 3, CRS 4035. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 458 is a purchase agreement for A Turf, CRS 4018. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Having recently held a practice on the North Amherst Rec Facilities turf, I can say this will be well received soon. Resolution 459 is a bike path closure. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 460 is a memory tree program. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 461 is authorization to pay a vendor. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 462 is a user agreement, YMCA, CRS 4012. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Resolution 463 is a non-employee travel reimbursement. Any questions regarding the resolution? Any reason to withhold it from consent? Communication 58 is a request for a public hearing, 2350, 2360 to 2372 Sweet Home Road. Any questions regarding the communication? Any reason to not grant the public hearing via consent? Communication 59 is a request for a public hearing, 3945 Wrench Road. I recommend we receive this and grant the public hearing as well. Any questions regarding that? Any reason not to do that via consent? Communication 60 is correspondence from Sean Hopkins, Esquire, regarding a property tax problem relative to senior housing project at 214 Village Park Lane. I recommend we receive this and refer it to, I guess this is going to, I was gonna say, okay, attorney, assessor, and economic development. Sure. Anybody else? Any reason not to do that via consent? Okay, communication 61 is correspondence from Western New York Land Conservancy. Recommend we receive this, refer it to Youth and Rec and to planning, I would think. Anybody else? Any reason not to do that via consent? Communication 62 is a notice of claim from Camille Panaro versus Town of Amherst. Recommend we receive this, refer it to the town attorney. Any reason not to do that via consent? Communication 63 is a notice of claim for Danielle M. Hughes, aka Danielle Seiler versus Town of Amherst et al. Recommend we receive this, refer it to the town attorney as well. Any reason not to do that via consent? Communication 64 is a notice of claim for Kenneth and Verlaine Quinney versus Town of Amherst. I recommend we receive this and refer it to the town attorney as well. Any reason not to do that via consent? Communication 65 is an order for Lydia Diane Jones versus Magistrate Judge Mark Grisanti. Recommend we receive this and refer it to the town attorney. Any reason not to do that via consent?
I didn't understand why we got that one.
It's a sovereign citizen claim.
Communication 66 is an amended complaint for Lydia Diane Jones as the administrator of the estate of James Jones versus Town of Amherst Police Department et al. I recommend we receive this, refer to the town attorney. Any reason not to do that via consent? Communication 67 is a summons and complaint for the U.S. Bank National Association versus Town of Amherst et al. I recommend we receive this and refer to the town attorney. Any reason not to do that via consent? Communication 68 is an order to show cause for Bank of America N.A. versus Town of Amherst et al. I recommend we receive this and refer to the town attorney as well. Any reason not to do that via consent? We have two suspension items. The first of which is
One is from Youth and Recreation, because they are looking for just coverage of a financial impact of $16,911, the difference between a grant that they received of $400,000 from DASNY for the construction of a playground at Audubon Library, and the estimate comes at $416,000. They don't think that it'll be necessary, but they need to have a transfer from account T 2023 just to start the project going. And then the second one was from the town attorney's office, lease agreement between Blackbird Asset Services LLC and the town of Amherst, CRS 4041.
And that was, we didn't have an existing lease in place. They need time to be able to get off the premise, so that's, that we need the legal coverage of having that agreement in place. So with that, we do have an executive session this evening. The first is to deal with an issue regarding threatened litigation and land use. And the second is an update on pre-purchase agreement for Boulevard Mall. Bob, unless there's an update on an arbitration case. None? Okay. So that said, I'll motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.